This is a Fox News alert. We have brand new video just coming in of the police raid at the home of the Fort Hood shooting suspect. Investigators poured over that apartment of U.S. Army psychiatrist trained, soldier who is accused here to help. So he was trained to help soldiers in distress, I should say. That was part of his job as a psychiatrist at Fort Hood. We now can tell you that Hassan is on a ventilator and unconscious in the hospital after being shot 4 times during those shootings at the Army's sprawling Fort Hood post. Officials are saying that he is not able to communicate with them at this point. The hope, of course, is that he will be at some point, because they have a lot of questions for him, no doubt. Let me go to Bill Hemmer now, who's standing by at Fort Hood, following this story for us throughout the day. Hey, Bill.
Hey, Martha, good morning again. One other thing we learned about when the shooting was happening yesterday, he was in uniform when this took place, and took place in an area so insidious, too. These were, it's the area of the base, the post behind me here at Fort Hood, where you get ready to deploy for overseas, when you're getting ready to leave to Iraq and Afghanistan. That's where the shooting took place yesterday. We're hearing stories, too, about heroes. Kimberly Munley was a civilian police officer. When the shooting started, she confronted the shooter. In the end, she was wounded. She's alive, now being treated at a hospital. And the colonel from the Army here at the post was talking about her work yesterday, just a few moments ago.
Based on witness statements, when he started shooting, there was first responders were called, and again, this is where Officer Munley showed up, and initial indications are very quickly met and had the confrontation with him. Both exchanged fire, and both were wounded in that exchange, and that happened relatively quickly when she arrived. And again, her efforts were superb.
You will hear more about the name of Kimberly Munley, one of 28 still hospitalized and now being treated for her wounds. Fort Hood certainly is the center of this story, but across the country and at Army bases throughout the United States of America, they are reacting strongly to the events here yesterday. Marianne Silber is at Fort Benning in Georgia, and she's with me now. Marianne, what are you hearing back there in the state of Georgia?
Good morning, Bill. So far this morning, we've heard from very few people, but we did talk to a mother and son. She came in for her son's graduation. Friday's our graduation day here at Fort Benning. She said they were just absolutely shocked and stunned when they heard the news yesterday, but they're going on today with the graduation ceremony and festivities. Meanwhile, I've also got a contact there at Fort Hood, a high-ranking officer who says he had soldiers inside the Readiness Center at the time of the shooting, and he is bringing us some new information. He did not want to be identified, but this high-ranking officer said from eyewitness accounts from his soldiers that when Hassan went into the center, he jumped up on a table. So when he was shooting down at cubicles. Inside the center, there are lots of cubicles. There are stations where people who are getting ready to deploy will sit and talk about things like making arrangements for insurance and banking and things like that and medical. He was shooting down at the cubicles, according to this high-ranking officer who says he had eyewitnesses inside the center at the time, and they believe that that is why he was able to shoot so many people and that he was shooting at head level, and that gave him an advantage as well. Bill?
Wow, Marianne Silber, thank you. Fort Benning in Georgia there. Also, one other note, Martha, we learned today that the notification for families for the wounded and the dead is still happening. Not on a great level. They think they reached about 90% of the families so far, but another 10% still to be contacted. So they are walking, as you can imagine, with a bit of caution here.